Another day in the NFL, and with that came several more rumors and hot topics surrounding free agency today. Again, every night I'll be taking two separate videos, one dealing with free agency and one with the NFL draft, and really analyzing the different rumors that came out that particular day. And today with free agency, I start with Michael Bennett. Michael Bennett, who was a star for the Seahawks this year at defensive end, a guy who they signed to a 1-year, $5 million deal last offseason when there wasn't much of a market for the defensive end formerly of Tampa Bay because of some injury concerns. He obviously had a great season this year with Seattle, with 8.5 sacks, a part of that very good defense overall, and in particular a good defensive line. And Bennett, in an interview on SiriusXM, says he expects to be paid among the top defensive ends in the league. And I think when all is said and done, he'll be the third highest in-demand defensive end behind Greg Hardy and Michael Johnson. And as far as returning to the Seahawks goes for Michael Bennett, now the Seahawks would want him back. I think that sort of goes without saying. But if you look under contract for next year, the Seahawks already have 3 of the top 14 highest paid defensive ends already under contract. Chris Clemens and Cliff Averill earning $7.5 million and $7 million respectively, and also Red Bryant, who will command a $4.5 million salary next year. So if you're now talking about having to pay, let's say, Bennett in the range of $7 million per for 3 or 4 years, well, now you start to look at the fact that they're devoting a lot of money to one position when they're in a case, the Seahawks are, where a lot of guys are going to want to be paid. They're probably going to look into early extensions for some of their key guys and have a lot of guys that will be entering free agency on the horizon. So I think if Bennett is correct and does command between $7 and $8 million a year as a defensive end, I think he'll be the one guy who you probably don't see back with the Seahawks next year. Moving from a defensive end to a cornerback in Aqib Talib. And Aqib Talib had a little bit of a career renaissance with New England here the last couple of years. He was traded for a 4th-round pick, from Tampa. Another guy, who Tampa gave up on. Michael Bennett, the first guy I talked about, and also Aqib Talib. Talib goes to the Patriots, second-team All-Pro this year, has certainly been their best cornerback here the last 2 years. Really an invaluable member of that secondary, which really struggled prior to his arrival. But due to the off-the-field concerns that haven't been an issue in New England, but were in the past, the Patriots seem reluctant to give him that long-term, multi-year deal that he's looking for. And I can't say I blame the Patriots on this one. I don't think you'll see them franchise him because I think the number will be too high for them. Their hope is probably that he doesn't get as big a deal as he thinks he's going to get on the free agent market and that he comes back to them. And, I think for Talib to command, a 3 or 4 year deal for $5-6 million per year is not out of the question for another team to offer him. The Patriots probably hope to get him for a little less money than that. We'll see how this plays out. The only leverage Talib has to me is he's far and away the best cornerback on that team. Look no further than when he went out in the AFC Championship game after he got hit by Welker and how much that defense just absolutely crumbled as a result. That might actually work in his favor during negotiations. And, you go from the Patriots to one of their AFC counterparts, the Bengals, who last year had a host of free agents, especially on the defensive side of the ball, that they re-signed. They possibly have their most coveted one, Michael Johnson, who will be a free agent this season. And the Bengals, as usual, have a lot of cap space in excess of $30 million. So they have the money, if they want to give Michael Johnson, the contract he'll demand on the open market. What makes Johnson unique, probably more unique than a guy certainly like a Michael Bennett, is the fact that he can play in a 4-3 or a 3-4 scheme, is good against the run, can drop back into coverage, and can also rush the passer. Now, he had a little bit of a down year this year rushing the passer with only about 3.5 sacks. There's rumors that because of his versatility, that being able to play in either scheme, that he could command up to $10 million a year. Now, that's putting him up with the DeMarcus Wares of the world, up in that neighborhood. Ware gets paid about, like $12 million a year, up in the Julius Peppers area. I don't look at Johnson as being that kind of force, but maybe if a team that runs a hybrid scheme can use him and use him effectively, maybe they deem him worth that. I expect him to get a deal more in the $8 to $9 million range max, as opposed to a $10 million a year deal. That's a lot for a guy like Michael Johnson, especially since he's coming off a season where he only had 3.5 sacks. But we'll see how this unfolds here. Again, the Bengals will have the money to keep him. We'll see if they think he's worth keeping, because you got to remember, they extended Geno Atkins. I've already extended Carlos Dunlap, and they did pick Margus Hunt in the second round last year. So did they already make contingency plans for losing Michael Johnson? And are they all right with that? That remains to be seen here in the offseason. And the last sort of rumor or news I wanted to touch base on was Anquan Boldin. Anquan Boldin proved this year to really, in my eyes, be an invaluable member of that 49ers receiving corps. To me, he's going to be crucial in the development of Colin Kaepernick if they re-sign him. Remember, they signed Boldin to a 1-year, $6 million deal after they only traded a 6th-round pick for him, all right, to acquire him from the Ravens. Now, I know Boldin's on the other side of 30, but I also know what they need from Boldin. They don't need him to be a downfield threat. They need him to be the exact same type of receiver he was this year. A guy to run those tough routes, a guy to use his body, catch those tough receptions, to be an excellent blocker on the outside, which is an underrated part of his game. And, I don't think the 49ers, though, are going to be able to get away with just giving him a 1-year deal again. I think a perfect scenario for the 49ers would be to absolutely bring him back. I would assume Boldin wants to be back in San Francisco. Give him a deal similar to the Broncos gave Wes Welker last year. 2 years, $12 million, with 8 or 9 million of that being guaranteed. So almost essentially a fully guaranteed contract. I think that'll get it done for a guy like Boldin, who probably wants to be a part of a winner from what you know about him, and probably enjoyed his time last year in San Francisco. And if they do that, get that deal done, then they could work on improving other areas of that offense, certainly. You have Quentin Patton as that number 3, who I think showed some flashes here late in the season at receiver for the 49ers. Maybe they draft someone else. We'll see. But, guys, those are the rumors for today, rumors and news regarding free agency for today. Let me know what you guys think. Hit me up in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter as well. I'll be coming with a draft video, a draft rumors video here in a couple minutes, so be sure to check that out. Guys, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I do a whole range of videos on here all day, every day. So be sure to subscribe. It's totally free. Thanks for listening. Have a great night.